Hello everyone, my name is Ken. The purpose of this video is to remind myself about the footstep system that I just finished building. So let's get into it. So right now it can detect when you're walking on grass or wood. And I'll just demonstrate it real quick. So it's detecting that we're landing our feet on the landscape layer info grass. And if I open this door and step on this wood, you can hear that it's able to get the wood and the grass. So, there's a few things that I did to get this set up. So, I guess the first thing is the folder audio. In here is going to be footsteps. And in here is the sound attenuation, sound concurrency, and then the sound cues plus the waves for each of the types of sounds. So we've got dirt and wood. That's just a few random free sounds that I got online. Okay, now, as far as code, so most of this is set up, so this is run through animation notifies. That's where everything starts. So when an animation notifies that the foot hit the ground, then we're going to detect that. So there's some setup that happens on the animation instance, which is here. We just let the animation instance know the left socket, the left foot socket, the right foot socket. And then on the player character, there's going to be a new component called footsteps component. And this is where we define also the blueprint that we saw earlier here in audio footsteps. There's a subsystem. This is a world subsystem. This is where we map the physics map or physics materials to a gameplay tag. We'll get into that in a little bit, but I also have these two physics materials. These are just data assets that we attach to things like landscape layers or to actors in their physics material slots. And this allows us to map these to gameplay tags, and then we can use that to detect and play certain sounds. So let's get into the code real quick. So in the animation instance, I'll do this. Let's close this all out. There's going to be the animation instance header. So this is where we defined those sockets. We have a foot component. And then in the actual code itself, there is a function here called handle notify. Now, normally with animation notifies, if we go to an animation and we select, let's go to run, look for loop forward. Now, normally you can see every time the foot lands, there is a notification called fully event : space run. So as I drag myself through, it's right there. Event, right? Now these can translate to C++ methods, but because it's using this : space run, I can't do that. So I'll have to, at some point, use a custom C++ animation notify class and replace all these. But just to get the system working, I'm just going to override the handle notify method, and then we make sure that we're the client, have this reminder here talking about what I just mentioned, and then we're looking for whether or not this notified name is either run, walk, or none. None is here because some of these sequences are missing the events names and it just says none. So we'll clean that up later. So yeah, every time this event is triggered, this function is fired, and then we end up getting the skeletal mesh. We get the sockets, and we see which socket is closest to the ground, and that tells us which foot is about to hit the ground. And then we tell the foot component to handle whether it's the left socket or the right foot socket. So when we go into the foot component, there we go. All we're doing is getting our subsystem, which I'll show in a second. And then so handle footstep, which is here. We make sure that things are valid. We get the socket, and then we say resolve and play. When we resolve and play, what we're doing is we're asking the footstep subsystem to get the surface tag at this current location. And when this returns a surface tag and a physics material, we can play that down here. But first, if we go here into the subsystem, there is a mapping called physics map to tag that gets set. I'll show you. Physics map to tag gets set in the subsystem, which is going to be in audio, footsteps. Clear this. Go to the subsystem. Here. This is what I showed you earlier. So that's getting set here. And then when we're asking for the surface tag at this location, it's going to do a few things. It's probably best if I just show the debugger. But basically what we're doing, oh wow, it was fast. Okay, cool. Here, I'll show you. If I play again, I guess that didn't work. There we go. That was weird. Okay, so we're doing little traces on the ground to see what the player is actually hitting. So these are very inexpensive client-side sweep spears. So this is how we're detecting it. And so, if we have a hit, we're going to get the physics material that we just hit. We're going to check whether or not it's part of our mapping that we had set here. And if it is, we're going to assign the tag to it. That's going to get set to here and here. And then this will get used to play the sound. There is a data asset, which I will show. So it's going to be in data, audio. There's this data asset called footsteps data. And this is where we assign tags like surface.dirt to a footstep. Okay. The default one is dirt, but we also have one for wood. So when this returns surface.wood, we will play the wood sound. Those are being set in the projects config gameplay tags here. So anytime we add some new ones, we could just add it here. Now, in order to assign, let's say, this wood floor, so what you do is you go into the asset and you look for the asset that you want to assign. So in our case, let's say wood floor. And then you have to go into the material itself. So this one has 3, so I'll just show one of them. And in here, you set the physics material to PM wood. And that's how the mapping works for any of the assets. Now for landscapes, it's a little bit different. We have to go to the landscape layer info. So if we go to landscapes, and then we go to paint, and then there's this grass layer info. We can do it for others too, but right now I only have it set for this. Here I have PM grass set for the physics material. So that's how the system maps the physics material to the gameplay tag, and then in the gameplay tag here, we'll play whatever sound is set in this data asset. So it's all data driven. Yeah, I think that's like the heart of it. Eventually, I would like to open up my bookmarks. I would like to use a custom anim notify and replace all of those triggers with this instead. But for now, we just have to use what we have. I'm using motion match and animations. There's like 500 of them, and that's a lot. So maybe one day. Right now, this is good enough. Let me see if there's anything else. The component on the player gets set here, and I think that's pretty much it. Yeah. So that's it. One last time, I'll run around real quick. Okay, I have the debugger turned off. Cool. Thanks for watching.